right now.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen this yet. Thank you all for being here. God bless you. Appreciate everything. Wonderful win. Played like hot garbage. And I'm trying to figure this out. Sick of it. I really am. I'm sick of us coming out here and putting forth the effort we put forth in the first half. We've for practices. We've had really diligent meetings, and we're trying to figure this out. Trying to figure this out because I'm sick of it. I'm sorry. I'm happy about the win, but I'm not happy in the fashion that we wanted in. We're better than that. We really are better than that, and we got to start showing that. I expect to win, and I expect to win in a better fashion than that. I'm sick of these consistent holes that we're displaying, and the penalties and the things that we're doing. We're so much better. I apologize for my anger today, but I don't accept mediocrity. Maybe you do. Maybe you can live with it. Maybe you sleep with it. Maybe you lie with it. Maybe you're comfortable with it, but I'm not. Let's go.
That second drive, was that kind of part of it there? You called 2 timeouts. You guys were really just trying to break through the wall and get a score. It was like you
mean the second drive of the game?
Yeah, it looks like you weren't okay coming away with nothing there, right?
The second drive of the whole game?
Yes.
What about the first drive? What about the first 2 plays?
Right.
How do you start out a game like that? Yeah. With a quarterback like this?
What's the message to the team to get them to?
I've delivered every type of message you could.
All right, so that was Deion Sanders. Pleased with the win, but clearly not pleased with the effort and the way this team looked for 4 quarters of the game. So the Buffaloes now go over their preseason win total of 3.5 and snapped an 8-game conference losing streak, allowed 42-plus points in each game during that, and to get their first conference road win since 2020. More HQ after the break, baby.
Called this game for CBS, Gary Danielson, former NFL and college quarterback. And Gary, that end of that game got a little squirrely. Your reaction to what you saw there in the final couple minutes.
Yeah. Well, when that touchdown was called back by Anais Smith, you could almost see what was going to unfold because of the play clock and A&M having all 3 timeouts. They were forced to throw, and, Alabama did the job. They stopped them, got 1 holding penalty. They kind of got everything kind of out of whack in the game right there. But to force the field goal and burn a timeout, I think that was the story, because it would have been a lot different if A&M had 3 timeouts and pulled within a field goal to win the game.
Yeah, and Jace McClellan making a heck of a play, something that I don't know that I've ever seen before, where knee goes down, pops it up to himself, gets the first down. And you had said early on the broadcast, if they can't run the ball, throw it. Clearly, I guess they were listening to you, Gary, because they ran the ball for a total of 23 yards in this game.
Well, I don't know if you could believe that Alabama would come in here with 14 penalties and run the ball for 23 yards and win the game. I mean, that's almost an amazing part. This Alabama team this year is built to run the ball. They couldn't, but what are you going to do? You can't keep knocking your head against the wall and say, I want to prove we're going to run the ball. They just started throwing it, and Jalen Milroe answered the call for the football team in Alabama. He had a great football game.
Gary, this is the second time you've seen Jalen Milroe this particular season. What have you seen in his development to this point?
I think just reps mostly. You know, I mean, you don't get recruited in major colleges if you can't be a quarterback, but I think he's just kind of settled down. He's got a lot more experience, and now he's growing confidence. You know, the belief in the team, you know, when you get benched and then you come back in and it's your job again, you learn a lot of lessons. His lessons was, I'm the guy, and I'm going to do the job, and I think you can see him improving as he plays more and more.
Well, it's not March, it's October, but we can share a phrase from our NCAA tournament brethren. It is survive and advance indeed for Alabama on this day on the road to College Station. Gary Danielson, break it down for us here on CBS Sports HQ. Gary, appreciate it. We'll see you down the road here on HQ.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, great analysis there, and great to listen to Gary and Brad and Jenny on the call this afternoon. As you take a look at Saban's career against Jimbo Fisher, that one loss, that bonkers game a couple years ago, won on a field goal. That game was awesome. That was the first loss that Nick Saban had suffered to an assistant coach. And since then, he's gone 30-3, now 6-1 in his career against Jimbo Fisher as he gets the best of. Dogs and cats do not get along. Sometimes they do. In this case, they do not on the college football field. The Dogs of Georgia crush the Cats of Kentucky, 51-13. Beck and Bowers providing plenty of offense for Georgia. 28-35, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception, and Brock Bowers, arguably the best player in the nation, who won't win a Heisman, but will be a high draft pick come next NFL draft. 7 catches, 132 receiving yards, and a touchdown, his 3rd straight 100-yard receiving game as Georgia's offense finally gets going. 6th game into the season. They have now won 23 straight games. Here in studio with former NFL vet, Lige Douzable. Lige, look, we had been asking Georgia to show up. Yeah. We saw them struggle against Auburn. We saw them struggle against South Carolina. Now they come back home against a good Kentucky team, undefeated, and they flex their muscles. What'd you see?
Literally what you said. I think we had all been waiting for Georgia to kind of flex their muscle. They kind of millied through the first half of the South Carolina game. Like you said, the same thing with the Auburn game. And when they needed to get going, I don't know what Coach Kirby Smart said to them at halftime. They came out firing in all cylinders. Well, they didn't wait for halftime versus Kentucky today. They're like, we're going to put the game in Carson Beck's hand. And boy, Hakeem, did he have a game. Throwing for over 380 yards and 4 touchdowns. Did have that one interception where I felt like he was pressing just a little bit too much. But what I really liked was the coaches instilled confidence in this quarterback, because those other games we talked about, South Carolina, Auburn, it was kind of run by committee in that game. And then when they needed Carson Beck to make plays in the second half, he found Brock Bowers. But he went to Brock Bowers early in this game and got the tight end going early in this game. So I love how the coaches instill confidence in Carson Beck. You're going to need this type of play for him if you want to be able to be a 3-peat champion.
Brock Bowers, if you saw him during your NFL days, what would you think of him as a player in the league? Because right now, he's a man amongst boys.
Well, Hakeem, you said, he probably won't win the Heisman. Why not?
Well, that is a quarterback award.
It is, but I mean, it's been a running back award before.
And
it's been a receiver award.
Caleb Williams looks like he's on his way to winning a second one. Should be the first time since Archie Griffin.
True, I mean, but it also depends on USC's schedule. They got some big games coming down.
They do,
so
but
Georgia,
that's who, right? And you got
Georgia
Michael Penix too.
Undefeated, and we keep seeing Brock Bowers dominate week in and week out. I mean, the Auburn game, literally, Hakeem, he took over that game in the second half.
He did.
He's the reason they won that game. So
4th quarter, he was awesome.
He is the best player on the best team in the country right now, because you still have to say Georgia's the best team because they are the #1 ranked team in all of football. And a lot of people thought this game was going to be a lot closer, myself included, but you saw them flex their muscle versus Kentucky, and he is the best player on that team. So why not? Why can't a tight end win the Heisman if he continues to be the best player on the best team in the country?
Also, the ground game really got going in this game. A lot of different guys getting involved. That sort of was what they wanted to get back to, and they did. Obviously, it opens up the game, the passing game, and that's what they did. The game plan worked well for Georgia. What went wrong for Mark Stoops and the Cats?
For one, it was the turnovers that they had, and then penalties, just like mind-boggling penalties, Hakeem. There's times where they, on third down, get off the field on defense, and then you get a personal foul for a late hit. That makes absolutely no sense. They stay ahead of the chains on run games, right? Then you get a penalty by a guard slinging and throwing somebody to the ground. So, like, boneheaded penalties is what killed Kentucky in this game, and a few turnovers, but it was the penalties earlier in the game. They just could not overcome that lead that Georgia built up because of the penalties that hurt them early in the game.
Well, and I know you like this because Ray Davis was coming off a career game where he had 280 yards on the ground, which was incredible. We knew that he wasn't going to duplicate that. But shouts to the Georgia defense that hold him to just 59 yards.
And that's the thing, like, styles always make fights, right?
Yeah.
And the Georgia defense does a really good job of muddying up the run and slowing down the run. Now, they've struggled as far as getting to the quarterback, and there's been some quarterbacks that have had success throwing the football. So you kind of felt like